Hello, my friends. It is I, Sebastian, manifesting once again. Voila. I'm going to go over some recent sales. Um, I'll start with recent book sales, then I'll do clothing, and then I'll do art and objects. And most of the sales are via eBay, and I'll try and point out ones that are on other platforms like Depop. Um, but yeah, I'll start getting going right away. So this first one's a really cool one, actually. So it's tank destroyer forces of World War II, and this was published, I want to say, in the 90s, and it sold for 189.99. It cost about 250. And I found a set of these, and it sold fairly fast. These kind of World War II and military kind of memorabilia books. But these kind of books are really cool because they're just great resources and references for anybody who's interested in the campaigns. And the buyers, they told me, had been looking for this book for a long time because their grandfather had served in this outfit. So I was like, that's really cool. And that's was kind of one of the things when I get these kind of reference books like that that kind of have a yearbook kind of vibe to them. A lot of people, oftentimes it's a family tie or something like that, which is what, or they're an academic, or they're just interested in the history. But it is kind of specialized. But they do sell, especially something that's so cool like that. I thought it was a great piece, even as somebody who doesn't have, say, a direct tie to it. I mean, I thought it was very interesting. Next is this larger coffee table book, Mykonos Muse. And this one sold fairly fast as well. It sold for $44.99. And it cost about $250, and had a bit of wear, so I tried to price it fairly aggressively, price to sell. So that moved pretty fast. Next is Norman Mailer, 1979 advanced reading copy of The Executioners, and that one sold for $200, and it cost about $250. And when I found it and I showed it in one of the previous videos, I sort of explained my thinking on I had a buddy who had told me that he'd found a bunch of like Norman Mailer like signed books and like first editions. And so, he scooped up a lot of them, but I was like, oh yeah, I haven't been to that store in a while anyway, so I'll go check it out. And he must have passed on this particular book because he tends to sell on Amazon, and it's kind of a trickier, more like collector book. So that is better to sell on, say, like eBay or something like that, where there's just the dynamics of the marketplaces. These kind of books are better for it. But when I got it, I didn't know what it could sell for. I knew it was interesting, and it had some like cool historical and cultural aspects because Norman Mailer is such a big writer, or was. And so I listed it high at like 400 because I couldn't find comps. I was trying to research, and I did see that some had sold, but I couldn't access prices. And so it sold for 200 on an offer someone sent, and I was good with it because that was a fast sale. Because that's one of those books that, and when I was showing it, I was like, oh, this could take a long time to sell because you're really waiting for the one right person. But it worked out, so that was nice. This next one's kind of the opposite, actually, because it's a cool book, but it took a long time to sell. The Art of Rush, I was starting to get sick of it because it's so big too, It did sell for $204.99, and it cost $2 to $4. But yeah, it just took a while. It's a cool book though, very nice book. I think maybe, maybe I overpriced it initially, and that could have been the issue too. So sometimes that's also on me for like not adequately or properly pricing an object, So, that's things we just try and get better at. Next is a 1968 Vogue US magazine, February, featuring Jean Shrimpton on the cover. And, I love Jean Shrimpton. She was a very famous 1960s model from the UK. And she was kind of known for popularizing the, the miniskirt or whatever. And she kind of caused a scandal. I want to say it like some like horse racy thing back in the mid '60s, where people were scandalized that she wore that thing. But anyway, she was awesome, and she did a lot of work with David Bailey, who was also a UK photographer. They, I believe, dated for a while, but there was kind of a very like weird scene, basically, when you're kind of a lot of sex, drugs, and rock and roll sort of deal. So. Usually a lot of toxicity in those kind of spaces. I'd actually love to read some of the biographical stuff that was going on in those places, in the UK especially. But otherwise, this was a cool issue too, because there's a piece on some of the new Courage outfits and line. Featuring Marissa Berenson, who was another great model in the 60s and 70s. She was actually, she was very popular. She was Elsa Schiaparelli's granddaughter, so obviously she was very connected, but she was talented on her own, but having connections basically always helps, and these kind of worlds, like fashion world, art world, all these things, they're very like small circles. Also, there's a really cool ad in this one shot by Guy Bourdin for Charles Jourdan, which was kind of like a shoe brand. And there's a book that was recently published on Guy Bourdin's work for them. And he's such a fantastic photographer with a wide range skill, basically. But he's awesome. I definitely recommend checking him out if you haven't seen his work before. He's one of my favorites. I got actually right here. That's one of his books that I got. Next is Pilgrim's Progress by John Bunyan. This is an Easton Press issue from 1979, and Easton Press is kind of like, they do those kind of fancier hardcover books and everything that are fairly collected, so they can be, some of them are decent value. This one was sold for $49.99. It cost about $2.50. Personally, they're not my thing, just because I like cover art, and I'm glad they're cool for the right people, but they're just not my thing, But I will pick them up if if it makes sense money wise, basically. Next is Tiffany at Auction, 1981 hardcover with dust jacket. This one sold for $75, and it only cost a few dollars. But this was like when I was referencing the Rush book, where I kind of overpriced. I overpriced on this one, so I just took an offer, and even then, I still think it was probably I mispriced it all the way. So that's just one of those I don't know, that just kind of bothers me when I look back and I'm like, I should do better on that. This next one's cool. It's a Vasarely op art pop-up book, and he was a very famous op art artist, really, in the 60s. Was kind of his like prime, I guess. And this one sold for $44.99, and it cost about $2. Publisher was Presto, and the person who was ordering from me was an elementary school teacher. She just mentioned it in the note, a couple things, and that she was going to use it to share with her students, which I thought was really fun, And this next one was Kylie Minogue 2009 U.S. Tour Program book, and this one I found with a few other, one other Kylie Minogue Tour Program book, and a couple other good ones. But this one sold for $174.99. It cost about $2. I love Kylie Minogue. She's was so awesome, especially back in like 90s Y2K era. So anyways, that was a cool sale. If I collected those things, I would personally want to keep that. Fortunately, that's not one thing I'm collecting, so I didn't have too much temptation. Next is a lot of 3 vintage 17 magazines, spanning from like some 50s and 60s period. They sold each for $19.99, but the cost was very high because I bought them locally. Like maybe I think I bought 10 or 12, and they cost actually like $10 each. I got them really just because I wanted to look through them. I like those older vintage 17 magazines. The production quality is actually quite good. and the ads are really nice. And also, kind of, with like youth culture and fashion and stuff like that, it moves so fast and it's so dynamic. So you get a lot of like just cool visuals, and it's very like kind of captures the period very well because it's moving so fast. So that's kind of, I definitely recommend checking them out. You can usually get them for not too cheap. I mean, if you're interested in that sort of stuff. I often like to get them and just get to look at them and enjoy them for a bit, and then sometimes I'll list them for sale. Let's see. Next up, it's In Search of Flowers of the Amazon Forests. It's botanical art by the artist Margaret Mee. I believe she was a British artist. This one sold for $30, cost about $2.50. I just took an offer on it just to kind of move it quick. It's a cool book, though. I'm definitely coming to appreciate the botanical arts a lot more, because it's very tight. And that's not always my thing. And like, I don't know, but it's grown on me, so it's just interesting. Next is Ferrari California 2011 brochure book. Sold for $40. Cost about $2. These are good, to pick up. They're easy flips, especially the luxury car catalog sort of stuff with like Ferrari, Porsche, all these kind of things. Now going on into clothing, this first one is a neat one in my opinion, even though I don't like those like kind of real polyester shirts, modern polyester shirts. I usually don't like them. But this one had a good tag, and it felt somehow a little bit better quality. And the design was just so good. It's a dragon tattoo long sleeve shirt. I think it's a collab, Yellow Man and Peter Mui. And I think he passed away fairly youngish, if I recall correctly. But it sold for $49 on an offer. And I can't remember what it cost, probably about $4, but it's definitely a great design. And I think this clothing brand is like people like it, So yeah, that was a good one. This next one was just also kind of a neat one. Lil Hammer Olympics 1994 windbreaker. And it sold for $39.99. I can't remember what it cost, not too much. But the thing that was kind of neat too is it had a little Diet Coke sponsorship patch on it, which I also I love the fact when these really like things that basically destroy your health are also the things that are like sponsoring things that are like healthy activities. The dissonance always cracks me up, Just one of those things. Money talks always, I guess. So they don't care where they get their sponsorships from, whether it's cigarettes or, soda drinks. Next is Cortez Rules the World Gorillas Striped Long Sleeve, size medium. This one sold for the list price, $79.99. Cost about $5. So that was a good sale. I think this is like a popular brand. I've only found it this one time. It took me a while to sell it, but that was solid. Cool piece. Next, I've been having trouble with this brand like crazy. So it's a vintage Coach Regina Satchel brown leather crossbody handbag. And I sold it for $100 because I was just like getting kind of annoyed with Coach on eBay and the cost, I think it was probably about $10. For some reason, on a lot of Coach listings, the stuff that I list on eBay, it gets zeroed, for not being authentic or for being counterfeit when it's clearly not. So I think Coach might be one of those brands that just like wants to punish anybody that lists their stuff on the secondary market, at least on eBay. I think some brands are just much more aggressive about protecting their the resale market. But I think it's obnoxious and slightly nefarious, probably. But I'm not going to read too much into it. I just now know that I'm not going to sell Coach on eBay anymore because it's too much of a pain in the ass. Next, this is a cool piece. Le Coq Sportif Weekend Burgundy what does it say? Bag, yeah. So this one wasn't expensive. It cost like $3. Now it did have a bit of wear and stuff on it, but it had a lot of really cool design touches. You know, like a lot of the pulls, the zipper pulls, you know, they were just nicely done with the little rooster dude, and yeah, it's just a great little piece. And I like that brand anyways. It's like a French athletic brand, but it's made, I guess, okay inroads into the US, I feel like, because I see it a little bit here, at least in Phoenix. And I like to pick it up. I don't know if it's something other resellers pick up much. I haven't even checked on, I don't check the sell-throughs on it. I'm just like, I like it and I think it'll sell, you know. I believe in, you know, you want to have some methodology to what you do, but I'm not a pure, you know, I don't believe in being a pure slave to algorithm and sell through, you know, metrics, because I mean, it's so like, I don't know, it's boring to just blindly follow what an algorithm dictates. There you get my personal opinion on some of that stuff. Basically, if it's like even in basketball, if everybody plays the same way based on what algorithm says is the most efficient, everything gets homogenized. So it's very interesting. And you know, makes for interesting discussion on culture and marketplaces and stuff like that too. Next is Luka Doncic Mavs jersey, new with tags. I actually thought I would sell this for more when I got it. Size 52, size large. And it sold for $49.99, cost about $15. I mean, now whenever I see like a Luka Mavs jersey, I just think of Nico Harrison and how much he deserves to be hated, especially by the Mavericks fan base. Next, Hickey Freeman suit, size 50R. The reason I picked this one up is because it was a Laura Piana 130s wool, but for the Laura Piana fabric. It sold for $90, cost about $10 to $12. But what I'm gonna try and do now, though, that was good, and I'm getting kind of reps in the suits. But I'm not gonna pick up more basic stuff, even if it's decent quality, just because I want it to be like more interesting patterns and things like that generally, unless it's like a really higher end brand, basically. And you know, I think I'll probably just improvise as I keep going and learning suits. But yeah, still a cool sale. Next, oh yeah, this one I was always like, I didn't understand why it was priced so high until I comped it. J. Crew Nalia coat, size 14, Italian tweed wool blend. This one, I want to say it cost between $20 and $25, and initially I was surprised at how high the Goodwill had priced it. But I did still comp it, because sometimes I'm just curious. I'm like, oh yeah, no, this thing, it will sell. So it sold for $112.99 list price, so it was good. And you know, the material was very nice. And the little design touches with the speckles and everything. Next was a vintage Calvin Klein denim vest. Had a cool little leather tag, you know, on the front. That one sold on offer. This was size XL. It sold on offer for $59. I can't remember exactly what I paid, but it wasn't too much, I don't think. You know, whatever. Next is Roberto Cavalli. Cavalli? Lion t-shirt, size medium. Sold, someone sent an offer for $40. Cost of $2 to $3. I had it listed, I think, maybe for twice that. But sometimes I just want to move stuff, so I just took it, you know, because plus I didn't have too much activity around that item. So I'm like, you know, someone's interested in it, just move it. Next is a Paul & Shark yachting hat. And this one sold for the list, $134.99. It was going international. And it cost $2 to $3. It just looked cool when I saw it. And Paul & Shark, I know, is generally a good brand, I think. So that's why I sold well, I think. I'd love to find one of those like vintage Polo Ralph Lauren hats, though, with that kind of multicolor. I can't remember what they're called, each, you know, part of the cap there. Next is Affliction t-shirt, size XL, sold for list $44.99. That one I think cost between $5 to $8. Next is a J. Crew Oarsman hoodie, size XL. The reason I got it was two reasons. Because usually these kind of more basic pieces I'm less tempted to get. But it had the Oarsman. The Oarsman's usually good, like on the tag. That's just I think it's a little bit higher endish part of their like sublines or whatever. And then I had red tip laces, red caps on the laces, which I just thought was a nice, like, subtle touch, you know, or accent. So yeah, sold for $39.99, cost probably $5 to $6 around there. Lacoste made in France sweatshirt, size medium. This one, you know, had listed probably too high at $200. Someone sent an offer for $99. I'm like, it's good, basta. Let's get out on this one. So this is still a good sale because I think it costs around $15. Next is LL Bean Signatures Fair Isle Sweater, size medium. Now this one, you know, was on a fresh roll. And when I saw it, I'm like, it's so cheap. You know, it cost me $4. But I was like, I don't want to be picking up more sweaters right now. That was just kind of something I was trying not to do. But that's why I priced it pretty aggressively to move, and it sold at $30. So it's still good, you know, 4 into 30 and fairly quick. Excellent, you know, and I like the design and everything. And I knew I could use good keywords too, you know, like fisherman, chunky, these kind of things. Next, this one was another one I just picked up because it was cheap. And it's a decent brand. Obermeyer ski jacket, hooded, size 8, women's. This one costs like $8. I just took an offer for $50. I think I had it listed kind of high at like $120, and it could eventually sold probably. But because winter's going to be fading out, it's like, you know, rather recoup some money right now, and then and just kick that to somebody who can hopefully use it, you know. This next one's a cool one, actually. Vintage harder suede leather trench coat, made in Denmark. And the material and the design were very nice. I don't know exactly what era it's from, maybe 60s, 70s. I'd have to like spend more time to really research that. So I didn't specify era, unless I'm fairly sure, you know. That's when I'll say, oh, it's probably 60s or 70s, you know. But sold for $200, cost about $15, $20. Cool piece. These are kind of tricky though. You have to really be willing to wait if you're wanting to get paid on these kind of vintage, more fur coats and stuff like that. So they're not bad. I just don't want to carry too many of them. So it's always good to clear a few out. Then I can consider picking them up again if the price is right. That's usually my logic. Next is a Willis & Geiger fur felt hat, size 7 1/4. This one costs like $5 to $8 and sold for $60. Had it listed, I think like twice that, but I was just like, move it. Not because it's bad, it would have sold. It had a lot of activity on it, but no, I just felt like I wanted to move it. So sometimes, you know, I don't mind like people lowball or whatever. I'll consider every once in a while. Some resellers think you're like undercutting the market. Well, I am. Who cares? You know, if it works for me and your price is different, the right person will hopefully come along for you. You know, it's not like I can. I'm not going to distort the market on my very own. You know, so everybody, these are dynamic marketplaces. So I know it's just interesting to me that some people get annoyed about that. I'm like, sell for what you want and what serves you. Next is another J. Crew piece, shawl collar cardigan merino wool blend, sold for $57. Someone sent me like a offer that was like 4% under my list price or whatever that is. You know, I'm like, oh, cool, I'll take that. The cost, I don't remember on that one. I don't think it was too bad though. I mean, I think it was under $10. Next is American Giant Roughneck Chore Coat, size medium. Sold for $64.99, and I think the cost was around 10 on that, 10 to 12. Yeah, someone bought it at the list. That's generally a pretty good brand, I think. It's not one I have a lot of experience with. I think I clocked that one on a new rack or something like that. This next one is also, I really love this one. It was missing a button though. That was the thing that was kind of sucked about it and why I took a a lower offer. Vintage Royal Hawaiian barcloth shirt. These are cool pieces though, because the material is nice, and this one was orange, so it's like it's really like kind of loudish, you know. So it sold for $39.99. Cost $45. They often don't get too priced up. Those type of vintage shirts, Hawaiian shirts. Sometimes they do though. It really depends actually, but not the barcloth ones for whatever reason. This next one, vintage Char Santa Fe hand painted vest, and this was a Depop sale. This one cost about $5 and sold for $45. These are really cool pieces, though, it turns out, because I think this this brand, Char, it's kind of this Western brand out of Santa Fe, I presume, is fairly in vogue and collected, and Western's in vogue anyways. And you know, it had a little bit of wear, but it was a really nice piece. It could, you know, that's the kind of thing I'd when I was comping them, you know, some of this stuff sells around $75, but because it was Depop, I'll take lower offers on Depop because they don't have fees, selling fees. I mean, this next one, oh, I was sick of this one. So I love the design, I love the image, and again, I probably mispriced it. So as annoyed as I was against the piece, it's really my own fault. There's nobody else to blame. I wish I could. You know what I would do? I would blame Ralph, but he's like right here, and he'll hear me shit talking him and blaming him, and he'll call me out. And so I'm not gonna do that because I fear his wrath. So it's a hyena sweatshirt, a hyena agenda sweatshirt, size 3XL. Sold on Depop for $36. This is kind of like the perfect piece for Depop, actually, because it's just got a great graphic on it. It's funky. It kind of makes me think a little bit of Dragon Ball Z drawing, you know, when he does his cars and stuff. I think there was some influence from that guy, you know, with that style, which is awesome. It cost about like $5. I remember the store I got that was 83rd Ave in Grand. I don't know, sometimes for some objects I directly remember where I get them. And it's kind of funny because I do have a lot of objects, but sometimes I can distinctly remember where each one I found it. This next one's one of the Lacoste zip-up sweatshirts, size large, that I picked up fairly recently. And I took a bit of a lower offer on it, also on Depop, sold for $41. I think it cost about $15. Next, this is a funky one. Chow Cat's button-up shirt, size large. It's from Japan. That's one of the reasons I picked it up. Plus the print was so fun. Sold for $35 on Depop, and it cost about $5. Next, Maggie Lindemann Sucker Punch tour shirt, size large. Sold for list $59.99. That's on eBay. Cost about $4 to $5. And this last one for clothing was Naruto all over print t-shirt, size medium. I think it's some kind of bootleg, you know, but like a cool bootleg, maybe made in Asia, like Indonesia or Thailand. They make some good bootlegs out there for whatever reason. Sold for $50 on Depop. Cost about $5. But yeah, definitely a cool one. I have a similar-ish like bootleg shirt in my own collection that I've worn before in some of my videos, is the Street Fighter shirt. And I think that one is from Thailand. Now, going into art objects. This first one, oh, I love this one so much, is an original drawing by William McGregor Paxton, and circa 1920s era. And that one sold for $220. Someone sent an offer. And, you know, I have been picking up a lot of art. So I'm trying to, you know, figure out flow on that. And I am doing, I'm trying to generate sales, you know, like on the local marketplaces as well. And I think it's helpful because over time, I think you build your reputation and everything, and that can help, you know. So, but this was a cool piece. It was just so beautifully drawn, the line quality, the coloring, and it's so era specific, the stylization, the hair, you know, but a great portrait. And hopefully whoever got it is going to enjoy it, you know, because that was one I was definitely tempted to keep. This next one are the lot of two vintage Rosenthal Hugo Meisel Blackamoor figurines. They sold for $200. Cost about $20 together. And someone had messaged me previously to see if they could buy just one of them because they needed it for their to fill out their collection. They didn't need the other one. And I was like, oh, I don't want to do that. It's just more work and they're easier to sell together for me as a seller. So oftentimes I do try my best to accommodate like buyers and collectors with those kind of requests because I know how it is to try and build a collection, and I do like trying to help people with their collections, but sometimes I'm just like, damn man, I don't want more work. I'm sorry. I do apologize. Next, I don't know if I'd pick this one up again if I were to do it again. 1936 Pontiac Coupe model figure. Sold for $39.99, the list. It cost about $4 to $5, so it was good. It's just like, I don't know. I don't know if I want to be picking up a lot of car models anymore. As much as I enjoy having them around, I'd rather pick up more original pieces if I can, like figurines or stuff that's like hand painted. Maybe that's what I'm thinking. I got to think more about that. Next, this was a really cool sale. So it's a lot of two Valois Vigil prints, Southwestern kind of abstractish artist painter. And the two pieces sold for $650 on eBay. They cost about $20. And initially, the person had bought them separately, and they were paying like $300 in shipping. It was crazy. And then I saw that they literally lived 10 minutes down the street from me, So it was like I messaged them. I'm like, hey, if you want, I can... I think the easiest way was for me to cancel that order because when you have like shipping involved, I could drop it off, but then you never have it confirmed that it was delivered because it didn't go through the postal system, with all the scanning and stuff that you need for confirming. That's to protect yourself as a seller. You'd need that. So I was willing to be like, hey, we can cancel this transactions, and then I can set up a reserved listing for you with a better price, obviously, and no shipping. Because I just hated the thought of like spending that much money on shipping when it's, come on, that's crazy. And then, of course you're hoping, well, I hope then they still follow through and they actually did want the things and aren't like, nah, never mind, I don't want it anymore. But it worked out. And so I dropped off the pieces, and the lady was really cool. It turns out she's a potter. And so she's kind of showing me stuff like in her house. Well, from outside, because she had these two massive dogs that were absolutely like jumping at the window. And I think they just wanted to play, but they were big ass dogs. I'm like, damn, they're destroying your window. She was pretty chill about it, I guess. But she was I'm like, oh, what's that in there? And it turned out her dad was an artist in one of her dad's pieces. It was beautiful, kind of hard to explain. But it was a lot of 3D pieces put together in just this beautiful, like, kind of beaded arrangement. And then she had some beautiful, like, Southwest abstract works. She had other Valois Vigil works. She sounded like she had a really cool curated collection. So anyways, it was cool to connect with her and to see where the pieces are going. I always love seeing how people put stuff together. And what they're going to do with the pieces too, because people are so creative and they got so many interesting ways of putting it together. It's just cool to see. It's just cool to see. Next is this one I had for a minute. Blacklight poster, Sadio photography, Trends International poster, and it kind of featured this like sexy kind of 90s Y2K. Type lady on there, pinup. And so that one sold for $150. Had it listed much higher. It cost like $6 to $8. And I had it listed very high because there was a comp for that one at I had sold for I think like $600. But to be fair, the one I had was in much worse condition. So because I'd had it up for a while, I was like, okay, let's move it. And the person who sent me the offer, they included a message, like they'd been really wanting it. They'd seen it at their friends or something and whatever. And sometimes I'm like, you know what? They seem like they're really going to like it. Sending a nice message sometimes, for me, It does work. A decent amount of times. Depends on the thing. Some people are more ruthless, like, no, I ain't negotiating with you. I don't care what your backstory is. Now, there are some people who are straight up just going to try and hustle you with some bullshit story about how all sorts of nonsense, you know. But those are usually easy enough to clock. And anyways, it was still a win for me either way. Still made some good money. The poster was easy to store, but I'm happy to move it. And this last one, I'm in the process. I am meeting somebody, I want to say, is it on Tuesday, a couple days, for these. They're vintage Hollywood Regency brass coat racks. And this one linked up, I'm going to be linking up via Facebook Marketplace. They cost me about $28 together and selling for $250. They're very cool. Very, they just have a good design to them. And if you're going for that aesthetic, Hollywood Regency sort of style, it's just fantastic. So anyways, that's most of the sales here. Unfortunately, even though I didn't blame Ralph for any of my own mistakes, he's still kind of pissed at me because there was no Polo Ralph Lauren. God damn it, no Polo Ralph Lauren. Do you know how angry that makes Ralph? It's okay. I'll give him some honey later and he'll calm down. But my rest of my plans here for today. I'm meeting up with one of my good buddies, Doc, and we're going to go to an antique mall together. It's always fun to go thrifting or antiquing or any of that stuff with other people because they have their own knowledge and things they perceive that I would never perceive. And vice versa too. So it's fun because as you're like browsing stuff, you're each kind of pointing things out to one another and you learn from one another. And some stuff you're like, oh, you like that? I think it's like, that's awful, but that's hilarious you like that. Or vice versa. They're like, oh my God, I can't believe you like that. But it's fun. And Doc is always teaching me stuff because he's very much into 40s and 50s culture. And actually, we're just talking about tiki culture, like American tiki culture, which I don't know that much about, but I like it. And I want to get some, there's some nice Taschen books I'd like to get. Maybe one of the more basic ones first, because there's like a $20 one, I think. And then there's like, some that like specialty books that, they're really starting to cost you money, like over $100. So, but I would like to, that's one area I definitely want to research more. So anyways, yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. If you have any comments, corrections, any of that stuff, please let me know.